The Tivoli Crimes, a tale of turmoil and tenacity. In the heart of Kingston, Jamaica, lies Tivoli Gardens, a community fraught with history, hope, and heartbreak. The 1980s were a tumultuous period for Tivoli Gardens, marked by the crescendo of crime and the resilience of its people. This story delves into the harrowing reality of that era, spotlighting real figures and places, while weaving a tapestry of the human spirit's unyielding tenacity. Chapter 1. The Calm. Before the Storm. Tivoli Gardens was initially conceived as a beacon of urban renewal, a promise of better living conditions for the impoverished. Located in West Kingston, it was the brainchild of Edward Seaga, a towering political figure and leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP. Seaga envisioned a community where people could thrive, away from the squalor of slums. Yet, as the 1980s dawned, the dream began to unravel. The neighborhood, a labyrinth of concrete buildings and narrow alleyways, was a stark contrast to the picturesque beaches that tourists flocked to. Tivoli Gardens, with its vibrant murals and bustling markets, held a beauty that was marred by an undercurrent of fear. The scent of jerk chicken mingled with the acrid smoke from burning tires, a prelude to the chaos that would soon engulf the area. Chapter 2. The Rise of the Shower Posse. By the early 1980s, the seeds of discord were sown. The Shower Posse, an infamous gang led by Lester Lloyd Jim Brown Coke, began to consolidate power. Jim Brown, a charismatic yet ruthless figure, emerged as a kingpin whose influence stretched beyond the borders of Tivoli Gardens. His gang, named for their proclivity to shower bullets on their enemies, was synonymous with violence and terror. Jim Brown's ascent was marked by brutality. Stories of his exploits echoed through the community, tales of retribution and dominance that kept the residents in a state of perpetual dread. His lieutenants, like Vivian Blake and Cecil Connor, were feared names, men who enforced Jim Brown's edicts with unflinching loyalty. The Shower Posse was more than just a criminal organization. It was a quasi-political force. It operated with the implicit support of the JLP, using its muscle to intimidate opponents and secure political gains. The symbiotic relationship between politics and crime created a volatile environment where lines blurred and morality was often a casualty. Chapter 3. A Community Under Siege. Life in Tivoli Gardens during the 1980s was a study in contrasts. On one hand, there was a vibrant culture, a sense of community and camaraderie among residents. On the other, an omnipresent fear of violence. Children played cricket in the streets, their laughter a fragile shield against the chaos that lurked. Markets thrived, with vendors hawking everything from fresh produce to handmade crafts, yet always with a wary eye on the horizon. Maria Johnson, a mother of 3, lived in a modest apartment on Spanish Town Road, the main artery that cut through the heart of Tivoli Gardens. Her days were a routine of work, church, and nurturing her children, but every night the sounds of gunfire shattered the facade of normalcy. Her husband, a taxi driver, had been killed in a crossfire between rival gangs, a casualty of a war he was never part of. Maria's story was not unique. Many families bore the scars of the violence that enveloped their community. The local school struggled to maintain attendance as parents feared sending their children out. Churches became sanctuaries, places where people sought solace and prayed for deliverance from the violence. Chapter 4. The Dawns of Despair. Jim Brown was not the only figure of dread in Tivoli Gardens. Other dons like Charles Chubby Dread Brown and Carl Baya Mitchell also held sway. These men, with their own loyalists and territories, contributed to the intricate web of power and violence that ensnared the community. Chubby Dread, known for his imposing stature and ruthless demeanor, controlled a significant portion of the drug trade. His home, a heavily fortified compound, was a fortress where deals were struck and lives were ended. Chubby's influence extended into the police force, ensuring that his operations ran smoothly with minimal interference. Baya, on the other hand, was known for his cunning. His operations were more clandestine, involving intricate networks that trafficked drugs and guns. Baya's reach extended beyond Jamaica, linking with international cartels that funneled narcotics through the island. His charisma masked a cold-bloodedness that kept even his closest associates on edge.